All right, Magic Makers, I am going to start a new segment on the podcast, and it's going to be called Ask Kim. Do you remember back in the day when there were newspapers? And in the newspaper, there was Ann Landers and Dear Abby, and you would be like, Dear Abby. Nowadays, there is on the TikTok, there is a write-in that's called Am I the Asshole? So this is just Dear Kim. Like, let's just keep it really simple. And so today I'm going to do a coaching session. I get a lot of people who write into my DMs and ask me questions, and I am going to coach them like I would coach someone who was a client. And I want you to kind of hear just an idea of like what I would say to a client. What is it like to coach with me? How am I like a coach? And that way you get like a feel for me, who I am. And I think you get a feel for who I am from my podcast. But I just want to start to answer some of the questions that I know that some of you might be thinking, some of you might be asking, and how I would answer those questions if you were a client and how we would start to work together. So the question I get regularly is, hey, Kim, I'm heading out on vacation or I have a special event and I want to lose 30 pounds in 2 months. Now, the smart ass in me is like, hey, girl, lose a body part. Like, that's how we're going to lose 30 pounds, right? In that shorter period of time. But the loving coach that I am says, hey, love, I love that you're ready to tackle your health goals. Now, losing, 30 pounds in 60 days, that's like trying to cram for a marathon, right? You can't cram for a marathon. You might finish fast, but you're going to pay the price later. And the I've been fortunate that I have had so many great mentors in my life. And the very first mentor I had told me this: how I get to my goal is how I'm going to keep my goal. And it was that has just always just been like drilled into my head, right? So instead of chasing this quick fix, imagine creating a lifestyle that naturally sheds those pounds and keeps them off. That's where you're going to hit the real gold, right? That's the real gold. And I always try to work with my clients to find their like what I call their like their middle ground, right? How do we navigate the middle so that you're never in this like I need to lose 20 to 30 pounds in a short period of time. It's that we're staying within 5 to 10 pounds of what our goal weight is. We're staying in, one to think about our dream size, right? I always like to have my clients think instead of an actual scale weight, think about what your body composition was, because 9 times out of 10, most of us are chasing a size. We're not chasing a weight. I think all of us have seen those pictures on social media where they're like, this is what 150 pounds looks like. And it runs the gamut. We have those like really tall, like skinny women to the short, heavier woman, and the hundred, and showing you how 150 pounds is distributed so many different ways. Where so many of us would rather be, if I am a size 12, I want to be a size 10. Or if I'm a size 10, I want to be a size 8, and so forth. Like that's what more of us are what we're chasing. So I want you to like when I work on clients, it's like, how do we find that like that middle ground so that when it does come for an event, it comes to for a vacation, we're not trying to like cram our way into this 20 to 30 pound weight loss. We're looking at like 5, maybe 7 pounds that we're trying to pull off in the 30 to 60 days. And so the second part is that this didn't sneak up on you, right? It didn't like all of a sudden you're not like, oh my God, the family reunion is just around the corner. You know, you've been talking about the family reunion for weeks. You book the cruise, unless you're one of those last minute people, God love you. You booked the cruise 6 months ago, right? So that's when you're like, okay, the cruise in 6 months, how do we start to, really get dialed in for this cruise? Um, and I'm going to give you 6 things that are going to really help you in this, if you're in this situation. But it's not going to be what you think, right? I'm not that coach is going to be like, let's cram for this. If you were to post this on social media, you would see so many different things like intermittent fasting, these keto drops, Mediterranean, vegan, so forth. I'm going to tell you the 6 things that are really simple because that's who I am. I know the basics work. The basics, you don't have to be like scrolling through your phone to be like, wait, is that on the list? Can I go here? Can I do that? No, we're going to prioritize your nutrition, right? Think about your body as our Mercedes. You're not going to put crap gas into your Mercedes. You've like waited so long for this Mercedes, right? Or whatever your dream car is. It needs premium fuel. So it needs lean proteins, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, healthy fats. That's where what we're aiming for. And the first thing most people are like, I need a pull. I want you to really look at your nutrition and say, what am I actually eating? Because so many of you, when I look at your nutrition, we're not eating a lot of protein, and we for damn sure aren't eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, right? Because that's the first place I would start to look at. And then we start to build our plate from there. The second place is strength training. This is muscle is your secret weapon. And I don't care what you do, right? So many people will demonize boutique fitnesses. The only thing I will demonize is that if I am riding a bike and lifting weights, I need you to get off that bike and I need you to spend some time lifting weights off the bike, because those 3 to 5 pounds, they might feel good, right? Because I'm doing 500 reps. They might feel good, but I challenge you to get off that bike and lift heavy, that the last 2 to 3 reps feel challenging but doable with like heavier weights, more than doing like 40 reps of something. I do 40 reps of something. Yeah, of course my arms are going to get tired because it's more of an endurance thing. It's like if I run a mile and I haven't run a mile, of course I'm going to get tired. So I want you to think about that. So think about more like squats, deadlifts, push-ups. They are your allies. Less about like doing abs, right? I could do abs until the cows come home. That's not going to really burn off the fat for me. Cardio. With that said, cardio is great. However, we are going to use cardio in moderation, right? Cardio is like trying to cook a gourmet meal in a microwave oven, right? So think about strength. If I only had 3 days, I would focus on strength training and sprinkling cardio, because so many of us push hard on cardio, and cardio for a lot of people cranks up our hunger. It cranks up our craving. And if I am not, eating the protein, I'm not eating the fiber, I'm going to find myself craving more and eating more. But if I start to sprinkle in cardio, as like an appetizer versus being the main event, I'm going to find my hunger being able to be tampered down. Consistency, right? So many of us think like, I got to go hard. It has to be like the hardest class, the most challenging class. I have to do back to back. I used to teach at a Y years ago. And so many people would get pissed at me when I told them they couldn't take 2 spin classes in a row. They're like, I can't. What do you mean I can't take 2 spin classes in a row? And I'm like, you're on the bike for 2 hours. They're like, that's the only way I can maintain my weight. Is it, Sharon? Is it? Have you been curious about what else you can do? So instead of being like, I only have the weekend to work out, let's start to figure out like that. You think it's that hour that I have to work out. Let's start to think about what are other things I can do to get into a more consistent pattern versus like I cram my fitness into the weekend. So I do 2 classes on Saturday, I do 2 classes on Sunday, and that's how I get my fitness in. Because slow and steady wins the race, right? Consistency is going to help you progress way more than beating the shit out of myself. Because if you could only work out on weekends and the one weekend you can't work out, then I'm not working out for the week. Right. So let's start to find a pattern that works out with you. Find routines that we can stick to. Because the first thing I always see people is I always like, when I ask the question, like, hey, how did this week go? Oh, well, and then it's like the story, there was, you had to take the kids here, there, everywhere, or, you traveled, or, vacation, so forth. It's like one of the big things I work with my clients. It's like, how do we start to set our expectations, right? So how do we start to create habits that can help us stay consistent so that we will ultimately get results for the long term? Water, right? The biggest thing I always tell people for water is that like, I don't need you walking around with that big gallon of water. That's not a necessity. What I would prefer you to do is say, okay, let's see how much water I drink. And if I'm drinking, excuse me, under 100 ounces of water, I want you to think about, okay, I'm not drink, I'm drinking under 100 ounces of water. I want you to think about, okay, how much less under 100 am I drinking? And could I add an extra glass of water this week? Can I add an extra glass of water next week? So as I working through the process that I eventually get myself to 100, right? Because I know for many people, it's not this like light switch approach. I mean, I know you guys wish it was a light switch, but it's not a light switch approach. So the second one is sleep, right? So it's like water and sleep go hand in hand. Like water helps like purge out all the crap and the junk, and sleep is what is kind of like the maintenance crew. I've used this example before. I used to work at a hotel, and all during the day, so you guys all have all stayed at a hotel. So all during the day, you're charging stuff to the room. There's a resort fee, there's a room rate. All of that happens overnight. So at 2 a.m., the for the hotel at 2 a.m., the day would change. And so anything that you did the previous day, so say that it's Monday. So 2 a.m., let's 2 a.m. Tuesday morning, all charges that you did the previous day are now on your account. And so that way, if you're checking out on Tuesday morning, all your charges are accounted for and you can leave and you're like, no, last minute charges. And so that's why when you check out of a hotel and you check out like first thing in the morning, they're like, oh, did you charge anything to the room? So that they know to go out and manually bring those over to to your bill. So that's what your body does. Like overnight when you sleep, it's like it's it's going through all of the systems in your body and it's resetting the systems. And it takes about 7 hours. And if I cut that short and I'm sleeping 4 hours, 5 hours, it's not hitting all of the systems. Like a few systems aren't fully optimized. And so that's why sleep is such an important thing, because if I'm not firing on all cylinders and then I'm still trying to like press and grind and hustle and all the things, it's going to be really challenging for my body to really enact the changes that I'm looking for. And the best way to do that is set a bedtime, right? Set a bedtime. And I know I have my people out there who are like, Kim, I'm a night owl. I feel you. I feel you. But can you say, say your normal night owl time is like, I'm like, for me, a night owl is being up till 11. That's like, I don't know the last time I was up past like 1 in the morning. But I want you to say, like, if I'm one that night owl, can I physically set an alarm on your phone that if you normally kind of say you fall to sleep, let's say midnight, can you set an alarm for 11:45 so that you can start to like get yourself off the couch or whatever you're doing and start to shut things down, and then eventually kind of start to track to a place where that you could easily get that 7 hours of sleep. And then mindset. So many of us are in the mindset, like we have what I call this rigid thinking that it has to be a certain way, right? Your cardio has to look a certain way. Your workouts have to look a certain way. Your food has to look a certain way. Everything has to be just right. Like, and if it's not, then it's shit. And I get that, right? That I lived in that rigid mentality for a really long time. Or you resist change, right? You're not curious about like what would happen if I did things a little bit differently, and I get that too. I was stubborn. I was just like, this is how I've always done it. It's easy. I know how to do it, right? And it took me a while to say like, let me act like a beginner. Like, what would a beginner do? And finally, get past, my roadblocks, right? Go overcoming the obstacles that always seem to like jump in front of me all the time, and not try to be perfect. I think part of the women who are attracted to me is that we try to be so believing perfect all the damn time that it's really hard to be perfect. And then finally, let's just release. Let's let it be easy. It's okay that it is easy. Celebrate every small win. Like if you set the alarm to go to bed at 11:45 and you did it, boom, celebrate the hell out of that shit. If you are, not, you're taking 3,000 steps and you took 3,500 steps, boom, celebrate the shit out of that. If you are, used to drinking 50 cups of coffee and you drank 49, we're starting to celebrate that stuff. So starting to celebrate every small step forward. And so if you're that woman who's chasing the 30 pounds in 30 days, I'm going to be honest with you, right? The days of 1 to 2 pounds of weight loss a week, that ship has sailed. It's gone. We've beat our body into so much submission that our body's like, it's your body's hovering in the corner, like afraid of like what we're going to do with it. So ideally, any pound loss is a celebration, right? But if you think about, maybe it's a half a pound, maybe it's 0.2 of a pound, that's okay, right? The focus is like, can I start to nail the basics? And when I start to nail the basics and I treat this as a process and I'm liking the process, I'm enjoying the process, guess what? I'm going to repeat the process, because if I'm doing something that I hate, I'm never going to want to do it again. I'm going to want to cheat on that. At least it's me. When you make something hard, I'm going to want to find a way to cheat on that all the bleeping time. And how many of you do the same thing, right? We're good till like Monday. I'm going to start all over. It's going to be fabulous. And then by like Wednesday, you're like, this fucking sucks. And then by Thursday, you're like, it sucks even more. And next thing you know, it's release the hounds. So give yourself that patience, give yourself the grace that you are going to do it. So instead of chasing the quick fixes, find the process, find the process that works for you, find the process that works for you in your life, in this season of your life. And guess what? Those 20 pounds are going to come off and they're going to stay off. And we're never going to have that, oh my God, how do I lose this so fast? Oh my God, this sucks. Like let's just like stop pressing the panic button and start feeling like, how can we make this part of our life? How do we make this a sustainable lifestyle that is realistic for how I live? I'm excited about it. I can make a plan for it in my life. And for the love of God, it is sustainable. So if this is something you would ever write to me, you got this, is all I have to say to you. It is possible to lose the weight over 40. It is possible to lose the weight and not feel like you are struggling, suffering, hustling, all of those things. And so here's where I challenge you. If you're someone who wants to ask me a question, do me a favor, send me an email, hello@kimbarnesjefferson.com. You could also shoot me a DM, K Jefferson Coach on Instagram, and I will be more than happy to answer any question that you have. If you want to do this live, hell, we could do this live, and I will do a live coaching session with you for the segment of Dear Kim. All right, Magic Makers, enjoy the rest of your day. Stay fabulous, and I will talk to you next week.